Annette has been with the Doylestown Health Hospital Group for 8 years, and she's the Clinical Nutritional Manager, and she'll be talking to us today about some tips for the holidays. Annette?
Okay, as he said, my name's Annette. I'm also one of the dietitians, and that's kind of what I go by here. What I wanted to talk to you about, I think we all know, we're all stressed. It's the holiday season, right? And that means we're spending time with our family, our friends, but what are we doing? Eating! Which is, I think, what we relate to as right there with it, one of the best things about the holidays too, besides spending that time. But that eating means we overconsume, and overconsumption, I think we all know, means our waistlines kind of go up, which we want to try to prevent, and also our risk for certain diseases like diabetes and heart disease. So today I wanted to give you a few tips. I'm only here for a couple minutes. I can't give you all the tips in the world, so I did put some handouts over on the table that have tips for recipe modifications, substitutions, sodium-free flavoring tips. There is also a sample. The American Heart puts out a healthy eating guideline. I did give you that sample over there to look at, but also the website is available that you can download and print out your own copy, okay? Because as I said, I don't want to keep you here for hours. It's too cold. You want to get walking. So what I thought I'd talk about is just kind of going over a healthy eating plan, like planning your menu, healthy eating choices, and then going to a holiday party, how to handle that, a few tips for each of those. And then I want to end on food safety, because we don't want to just worry about what we're eating. We also want to make sure we don't get anybody sick while we're doing that. Okay, so starting making meals, one of the things you're going to be doing is you're following recipes. So to talk about substitutions, some quick substitutions, some of these you may already know, but one is like instead of using butter in a recipe, you can use olive oil, or if you're doing baked goods, applesauce. You can use that instead. Instead of whole milk, using low-fat or skim milk. Instead of butter and salt on your foods, use herbs and spices. And then instead of mashed potatoes, you know how we load it with lots of butter and heavy cream and all to make them like some rich? How about trying instead, I'm sorry, but low sodium, fat-free chicken broth. Okay, and then for your flour, if your recipe calls for white flour, instead of doing the full version of white flour, do half white flour, half wheat flour. All right, so how about making healthier choices? We kind of followed that recipe, but we need to plan what we're having. I probably should have done it in a different order and planned the meal first. But when you're planning, think about when you're choosing your meats, you want the lean meats. So most, I don't know about you guys, but we're kind of the traditional turkey at Christmas. I know other people do other things. But when you're doing a turkey, you want to make sure you eat the white meat and remove the skin. But you choose lean cuts of meat if you're doing any of the other types. And then make sure you choose more whole grains, such as brown rice, whole grain pasta, whole grain breads. One of the things I want you to be aware, though, just because the label says whole wheat doesn't mean it's a whole grain. You need to look at the label, and has to have more than 3 grams of dietary fiber to consider it to be a whole grain product. When you're also planning that meal, make sure you have more plant side dishes, like have plant food types of side dishes instead of a lot of the other side dishes that we kind of tend to have. Make sure you don't do what my husband does. He says to me, Annette, it's 12 o'clock, it's time for lunch. Okay, I'm like, you just ate breakfast at 10. He's like, okay, but I have lunch at 12. I'm like, please don't do that. You eat when you're hungry. Don't eat just because of the time. All right, and then, oh, I'm sorry. And then also, I don't know about other people, but if I just eat soft foods or I drink a lot, like juices and things like that, I don't feel like I ate anything. So think about adding walnuts or pecans or almonds to your foods to give you that crunch factor, okay? I'm filling my plate. It's time. We're sitting down. We made our food. We prepared it. Everybody's coming over. The first thing to think about when you're filling your plate is you want to do fruits and vegetables first. It should be half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. Okay? Not the 10-ounce portion of beef or a lot of turkey and all that. We want more, half that plate of fruits and vegetables. When you do choose your meat, I'm sorry people, but 3 ounces is the recommendation. And the 3 ounces is a deck of cards. I used to say to patients, the size of your palm of your hand. well, my palm is this. And then a person put out their palm, and it was like twice mine. He's like, that's the size. I'm like, oh no, I can't say that anymore. So it's 3 ounces, the size of a deck of cards. When you're choosing, also think about making variety on your plate. When we plan menus, we think about color and texture. So think about that as well, because that's how you get variety on there. So you have an interesting plate, but you're getting more of the nutrients that way. The other thing is think of heirloom and family. That's what we're celebrating. So bring out the old dishes. Because did you know, years ago, dinner plates were 3 inches smaller than they are now. So bring out our smaller plates so that we don't overconsume. And then also think about doing foods that you can have everything. Don't deprive yourself, but have smaller portions. Because when we overconsume, if we have the dessert and we want pumpkin pie and apple pie, and we take 2 full portions, we're kind of over-consuming, but you can have small portions of each. That way you get to have both if you can't decide. And I have to say, that's what I have a problem. My aunt makes the best pies. And I'm like, I go there and she'll have a peach, a blueberry, lemon meringue, chocolate cream, and apple. I will ask her next year. She only does Thanksgiving. It's very difficult, so if you take small portions, that way you get to have a taste of everything. And the last thing with when you're filling your plate is remember, when we eat very quickly, we don't feel full. So give yourself time before you're refilling. Generally, at least 10 minutes or greater. I mean, if you can get to that 20, that's even better. Okay, so those are talking about our meal preps and our eating. The last thing with that is remember, afterwards, go out and exercise, go walk it off, and then that'll be a good tip for you. All right? We're done having our meal, but now the next thing is New Year's. We're going to go to a party. What we need to do is remember, do not go to a party hungry. Sometimes we say we're not going to eat because we know we're going to blow our portions and we're going to overeat. Make sure you eat something small. It could be a small meal, a small snack, but go with something in your stomach before you get to that party. Also, take something with you, a healthier item that you know you can eat. Make something, tell your person that you're going to, the host, that I'm bringing something as well. So when you go and you put on that plate that you just brought, you scan the table and you look at the food that's being offered and you say, oh, I'm going to have this, I'm going to taste this, and I'm going to pass on this. So kind of plan ahead, but don't start eating. Go socialize first. And when you socialize, get away from the table, because we have a habit of grazing and not even knowing we're doing it. So kind of move away, socialize, enjoy the party, then go get your food. Okay? So that way you can enjoy and taste the food and flavor the food. Don't just throw it in your mouth. Okay? You want to try to enjoy that. And the last thing is if we're doing alcohol. All right? Alcohol, I'm sorry, ladies, when we talk about moderation, it means 1 glass for us. Men get to have 2, okay? That's kind of where we're at with alcohol. So try to keep it to moderation. But also, when you first go to that party, have something that's non-alcoholic first. Don't start with the alcohol. Drink a non-alcoholic beverage. One reason is liquids tend to fill you up more than solids do. So you can get full drinking that liquid. So then you may not drink or eat as much if you have that. Second of all, the alcohol, I hate to say, has more calories. So that would be another reason too. So when you do that, as I said, start with a non-alcoholic, then proceed. If you're having drinks, think about wine. And I'm not trying to say, I usually tell patients, I'm sorry, when they ask me a question about alcohol, I'm saying you're all minors. I am not allowed to talk about alcohol to you. But I have to mention it now, but when you're having your wine, maybe think about putting club soda in that, make a wine spritzer. Okay, kind of decreases the calories there too. And if you're having mixed drinks that call for heavy cream, think about using like the skim milk or all that in the drinks as well. Okay? Last area, food safety, because I want you to be safe as well. I know we want to be eating healthy to prevent diseases, but I don't want you getting sick and landing in the hospital and not able to enjoy the holidays. So first and foremost, always wash your hands before prepping. And then also as you're changing between items that you're cooking or prepping, wash your hands. once again, I do turkeys. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about turkey because I'm assuming you all do turkeys too, hopefully. But when you do a turkey in any food, do not thaw it on the counter. Make sure you put it in the refrigerator. For a turkey, every 5 pounds, it's 24 hours in the refrigerator to help thaw it. Okay? So kind of keep that in mind. If you're stuffing your turkey, it's better really not to put the stuffing in the turkey, but however, if you're doing it, don't overcrowd it. Don't compact it in there to get more stuffing in there. General recommendations is 3/4 of a cup per pound of turkey. Okay? It's better though, as I said, to cook it outside of the turkey. I know everybody doesn't like it that way, but it is safer that way. When you're cooking, make sure you get your turkey to 180 degrees. You stick the thermometer in the thigh. All right. If you're doing stuffing, making sure the stuffing is 165. If you're doing any other roast, it's 145 degrees you want to get to the minimum. Do not rinse your turkeys. All right. And then also think about, do not leave your foods out for too long. You want to make sure that by 2 hours the food is put away. Okay. So those are my little tips. As I said, I did give you some tips over there that you can take after your walk. Hopefully I was able to give you some information that was beneficial for you.
Thank you. So one quick question. So if you're at the table, if you're holding 2 beers, then you can't grab any food items. Is that a good thing? For guys only?
I guess, but actually I don't want you having 2 beers because think about your size of your drinks as well. I don't mean having, the pub used to have, I'm probably dating myself, I haven't been there and I used to work there, Peddler's Pub, they had the yards. That's not a drink.
It's a weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Yeah. So we'll do our regular stretching, move apart a little bit. Our legs, one forward, one back. And then the other side, one forward, one back.
Stretch them out.
Then get out of the way.
Good. Okay. I think we'll do some marching just to warm up a little bit. Get our bodies warm.
Get your arms going.
Get your arms going instead of the arms. There you go. And then we'll just go marching right off.
Ready?
Okay.